It was like when JP used to say to me, not all training needs to be hard. I never quite understood that.
You have to go through it to appreciate it.
But now I understand that not all training needs to be hard. Oh, that stinks.
Is it on camera?
This is, that whole bit was on camera.
Good.
The big hustlers. We can use the hustler. We'll use the hustler next week. Welcome back to Armchair Coaching for episode 2 for the Road to Junior Nationals. We brought Didier today, who is actually the second in charge of powerlifting here at Strength Culture. Charlie is the head coach.
My personal assistant.
Didier is number 2.
Yeah.
I'm not part of the powerlifting coaching
Kicked him out.
cohort. I do program a few guys, but on the comp day, it's not my job anymore. So today we're going to be discussing programs leading up to Junior Nationals. We are 8 weeks out. Yes?
Yeah.
I think it's 7.
7 or 8. 7 and a half.
7 this weekend.
7 this weekend?
It's the end of the week already.
Yeah. 7 this weekend. So we're 7 weeks out, 8 weeks out. We're not actually sure. We're just rolling through programs.
No. It's because I'm 5 weeks away and they're 2 weeks after me. So
7 weeks. There we go.
That's how I've been measuring it the whole time. It's 2 weeks after my comp.
Nice. So we're in a sort of a transition period where it's too early to start a competition block, and it's too far away to start a full non-specific volume block or a specific volume block. So we are in a swing phase with all of our guys at the moment. Do you want to discuss quickly, Charlie, what that means?
So as Jamie said, we're too far away to really start pushing the higher intensities of a competition phase. So typically we program the top single, the back offsets. If we start them now, so these swing phases started last week, so this will be the second week. Some of them are 3 weeks, like Didier, he's on a 3-week one. Because it's sort of in that in-between phase where it's too hard to push and have a proper volume block with a deload, but it's also too early. We're 8-9 weeks out to start really pushing top singles, heavy sets of 3s and 4s. We're using it as we call it a swing phase because we're sort of just swinging in between blocks, but it's to fill space, and we typically sit around the 5-6 rep marks. It'll be 3 sets of 6. We drop some volume back. The idea is to really let them just freshen up and come into their competition block with their readiness to train quite high, and they're just fresh.
The desire,
They're CNS, nice and fresh and ready to go. So the idea is that we cut a little bit of volume off. We keep their reps at about 6 for their main lifts, squat, bench, and dead. Bench volume we still keep a little bit higher than the squat and dead, but squat and dead will just be once a week, 3 sets of 6. 7, 8, 9 RPE, so we're still working up to an RPE 9 to still have some sort of intensity there, higher intensity. But and then we're going to start all their competition blocks exactly 6 weeks out. So they'll be next week. So they're all on the same 6-week competition block. Is that
pretty much sums it up? I've done a slight variation with that. I've given my guys a top double on all of their sets. None of them are above an RPE 7 though. So that's because my guys were coming off some pretty heavy volume phases. So they were all hitting still sets of 6 and 8s, increasing RPEs throughout their phases. So I need a little bit of specificity to come in now, and I thought we might as well hit some doubles to get them to that top phase. So my 3 guys are hitting top doubles before, as Charlie just said, just some pretty basic sets of 5 or 6, with a majority of those RPEs within that 6 to 8 range, nothing really touching too much closer to that maximal intensity.
Something I also learned when JP said to me when I first started powerlifting that not all training needs to be hard, and this is something I've started to realise through my own experience of being coached by Bryce Krawczyk from Calgary Barbell, and obviously listening to JP and going through with our own athletes, that not all training does need to be hard. We're 8 weeks out from a big competition. The goal is for these guys to be strong we're 7 weeks out. The goal is for these guys to be strong in 7 weeks, not now. So having a couple of weeks of just lower intensity training, lower volume training will probably mean that these guys perform better at the end of April, rather than just going hard right now and trying to push heavyweight, which is something that a lot of guys do get caught up with. And Jamie's got a story about last night, one of our athletes.
Little G.
Little G.
Little homie G.
Shout out Lil G.
He may actually make the junior Nats team. He competes for the first time this next Sunday. Well, he will. It's whether or not he can still enter the competition. But it's his first competition coming up. He's going to be in the 69 kilo class. And last week he hit his second last single for his deadlift, which was 170, which is a new PB for him. And it was an RPE 8, prescribed at an RPE 8. Charlie coaches him, programs for him. And then this week he had another RPE 8 single. So he wanted to go above that, 172, maybe 175, depending on how the warm-ups were. And unfortunately, he just didn't execute his last warm-up, which was 165, which was probably an RPE 8, or definitely was. And then he knew that he had fucked up his execution, but also then I told him that he'd fucked up his execution and that we weren't going any higher than that. And it was a bit of a hard pill to swallow, but it's an important pill to swallow because, again, we're not trying to break PBs 2 weeks out from competition. The idea is to break the PB on the platform. So for Gabriel last night, that meant that he didn't get to take that PR attempt today or yesterday, and that it was going to have to wait until the following week, which we know he will, more than likely.
And just some reasoning for that is there's no point going to 175 in training when 165 was already quite challenging. It was at the prescribed RPE, which is an 8 or an 8.5. And we just go heavier for the sake of going heavier because that's what we intended to do and that's where we think we should be, we're going to either hurt ourselves,
increase fatigue,
stuff our whole training block up, which again, the point of the training block is to have our best performance on competition day, not 10 days out in the gym. So again, newer lifters, it's common mistakes. I made the same mistakes when I first started training, but this is where we speak from experience. And now a lot of the lessons that JP taught me back in the day, I can start to understand myself because I feel like I'm saying the same shit to these guys that he told me 2 years ago. So.
RPE training often cops that hit, that it's very easy for you to overshoot or undershoot, and where do you actually prescribe your loads. But when you educate your athletes through RPE training, and if the person genuinely cares about what they're doing, they shouldn't be overshooting. Like, it's fair enough that you overshoot once or twice here or there, but if you genuinely care about what you're doing and what your coach has prescribed for you, you should take the care in actually executing towards the RPEs. Charlie wrote a really good blog on this. It got some pretty good traction. I'll put that down in the description box regarding RPE training and where you might actually be going wrong with it from a coaching standpoint, but then also from a lifting standpoint as well. You need to try and remove that subjective emotion. Remove the emotion from your decision making when it comes to selecting weights and selecting whether or not to go up or stay where you are. Sit in the pocket, as Joey Flex talks about it.
Sit in the pocket. And it's something I go through as well. On Tuesday, I had the worst deadlift session ever. I got really stuck in my head. I wanted to go 250 for my single, and I got to 240, and it was really hard. And trying to, 2 weeks ago, I deadlifted 232.5 for 6, and trying to come to terms with that was the first time in a long time where I was like, damn. Like, I now understand what it was like to be one of those lifters wanting to go heavier, one of our guys. So it was good to gain some perspective, but it does happen still, where you've got to really remove that emotion and understand that the process is bigger than one training session. And that's something we constantly, and with these new guys, that getting strong is not about one session, it's about the accumulation of consistent sessions over a long period of time.
Just to give an example of that from my own training, usually coming into a competition, like my last few weeks, the weights I'm hitting for my top singles, because I follow my program, I don't overshoot, I'll be hitting...
Good boy.
Shout out Mateo. The numbers I'll be hitting tend to be far away from what I intend to hit on comp day, and from an outside, someone might be thinking, oh, like, fuck, he's not going to hit a PB, he's going too light. But lo and behold, once you deload, if you follow your program and it's been intelligently written, on the day you hit numbers that you couldn't hit in the gym. And that's the whole point. We train to hit numbers on the platform. We don't train to hit a PB in the gym, come on the day, fatigued, and then cry about it and say, oh, just if you follow a sensible plan, that's what should happen. You shouldn't be hitting PB, or you hit a PB in the gym, but you shouldn't be having your best performance in the gym. That's not the goal. Don't sign up for powerlifting if that's what you want to do. Yeah.
If the PB is there to be hit and it's within the RPE range, go for it. But Otherwise, stick to your RPEs.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely. Cool. So overall, just to recap, the junior Nats guys, because we've got a bit of a tangent there talking about a competition next week, but the junior Nats guys are currently in a swing phase for either the next, I think your boys are doing 6 weeks, my guys are doing 5 weeks because they came off some pretty intense volume phases. So my guys have 2 weeks left of that swing phase. Charlie's boys only have 1. Charlie's Angels. Fucking oath. So my guys have 2 weeks left. Charlie's boys have 1 week left of that swing phase, and then we'll be heading into our competition block. For us, the competition block always has a top single. We believe it's the best way for you to practice the skills of executing for competition days. Generally, we try to get the specificity as the overriding theme of most programs, or at least it should be. With that top single, we try to get it on some competition platform plates and competition bars to really get the feel of it all. If you can get somebody having your cues for you as well, we think that's a really important thing to do so that you're not in complete control of what's going on, because unfortunately on comp day, it just doesn't happen that way. So our competition phases will always have a top single. Generally, we wave load it up to an RPE 8 or 8.5 for a bench press. Towards the back end of the block, but those early phases we're just hitting good singles. 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5 are generally what we program. From there we'll have a percentage back off between the 4 to 6 range in the early phase, and then maybe 3s and 4s for the later phase of that block, and then that will just be a percentage back off of a projected daily max. I might actually impose how that would work here with our spreadsheet, if I can work out how to do it, which I should be right with the phone and the screen capture thing. Anyone want to drop anything to finish?
The next video will go into into the competition block and how we.
Yeah, we'll go into the ones that Charlie writes, because he'll be a week ahead of my boys, and then we're going to start getting into some technical sort of stuff as well with some of the boys. What we're working on.
Yeah, I was just going to add, if anyone was like interested in considering a swim block, I can definitely vouch for it, because I'm in my last week of it now, and usually I'd be starting my top singles now, but now I feel really fresh. Nothing's been that difficult, everything's pretty moderate, and now next week I'll be starting my heavy work, and now so it's like fire up my ass to actually smash those singles. I'm really pumped to get to those, rather than having 10 weeks of singles and then it starts to get slow, whereas now I'm really fresh and mentally I'm really ready to hit the heavy weights, because I know I've got those 6 weeks to just go hard for those 6 weeks. So yeah.
Readiness to train is very important.
That's it. Again, if you've got any questions, drop them down below. We're happy to chat through any of this sort of stuff. We'll check in again in a fortnight's time. We'll go over the competition phase that Charlie wrote. Actually, in a fortnight, I'll have my phases up as well, so we can go through those. They're going to be very similar. We have a system of coaching here. And we'll also go over maybe some technical things that we're working on, particularly with Dave Dobson, who's swinging across to sumo pulling. And then also what we've done with Dean with his lead up so far as well. If you've got any questions, drop them down below. As always, happy lifting, and we'll see you next time on the Armchair Coaches.
Catch you
Coaching.
later.
Done. Done.
Fucking big shape. That is good shape.